know who I am. I go by the name Zeus. Thank you, April. I go by the name Zeus, or some say Triple H. And why do they call me Triple H? Well, it's quite simple. The first H stands for honest. I'm the most honest person on social media. I have no reason to lie to you. The second H is because I'm humble. There's nobody more humble than me, all right? If I get it wrong, I will apologize. It just turns out I haven't had to apologize lately, all right? And the last and the final H, ladies and gentlemen, is because you guessed it. I am and will always remain the most handsome. Now, many of you are very familiar with what we came to do over here on this side of town, on this side of TikTok. What we do over here is very, very special. We hold our friends on the right, especially their cult leader, Donald J. Trump, accountable for their dirty, disgusting, filthy deeds as well as their crimes. And believe you me, when it comes to our friends on the right, there is an abundant amount of crimes and dirty deeds that are going on. So if you are a Trump supporter, or you're someone that's saying, I'm not a Trump supporter, but I'm going to go vote for Donald Trump, all right, because I think he will do better for this country. If you're one of those people, you might want to leave this live and go on about your miserable day, all right? Because it's going to get very, very uncomfortable over here, all right? As my good friend, Brother Swervin, likes to say, you're lactose intolerant. That means you're allergic to the facts, all right? And when we share them, you're going to experience an allergic reaction. So leave this live right now and go hang out with those fake TikTok hosts, those fake TikTok lawyers. You know, they're not lawyers anymore. They call themselves legal gurus. Whatever you want to call yourself on this app, you're wrong, all right? You should just change your name, your profile name to be, I'm the wrongest person on TikTok, all right? Because you've been wrong ever since I ran into you, all right? So you go hang out with those folks because they'll tell you the lies that you want to hear. I'll tell you the truth you don't want to hear, all right? But get this, you don't got to take my word for it. Listen to your leader.
If you're not happy here, then you can leave.
There you go.
As far as I'm concerned, if you hate our country, if you're not happy here, you can leave. If you're not happy in the U.S., if you're complaining all the time,
hello,
very simply, you can leave. You can leave right now.
Right.
Come back if you want. Don't come back. It's okay too. But if you're not happy, you can leave.
If you're not happy here in the United States of America, do us all a huge favor and leave. All right, so let's get started. Okay, with some of the few topics we can cover before I get up out of here. All right, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Now, we all know that Donald J. Trump is going to go down in American history as the worst president ever. We know that his supporters, they're going to go down in American history as some of the most worst Americans we've ever seen in our lifetime. All right. And so with that being said, this is an opportunity of a lifetime, MAGA, for you all to abandon your cult leader and get on the right path as soon as possible. And this actually applies to Donald J. Trump as well. All right. So I'm going to start the show off by talking about prioritizing accountability and clearing the path forward, all right? Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Americans, once again, we're here today to discuss matters of utmost importance. The potential candidacy of former President Donald J. Trump, all right? As we navigate this complex intersection of politics, justice, and leadership, it is crucial to examine why Donald Trump's focus, honestly, should shift from the campaign trail to addressing his legal troubles, right? The weight of the conviction, right? Just recently, a Manhattan jury convicted this guy, Donald Trump, of 34 felony counts related to falsifying business records, or as I like to say, related to election interference. These charges stem from hush money payments made to our good friend Stormy Daniels, all right? And a saga that unfolded during his first presidential campaign. A cloud of legal uncertainty hangs over Donald Trump, and to regain public trust and credibility, he must confront these allegations head on. How many of you heard of presidential immunity, right? This is the other thing he's got on his plate. Donald Trump's defense lawyers have argued that he should be immune from prosecution for acts undertaken while he was president. All right. While this legal strategy is debatable, it underscores the need for him to address these charges openly, honestly, and transparently, right? All right. A leader cannot effectively govern while burdened by these legal battles. Clearing his name would allow for him to focus on the nation's pressing issues, right? The Constitution outlines minimum qualifications for presidential candidates: natural born citizenship, right? Age, residency. It does not explicitly bar convicted individuals from running. However, public perception matters. Voters expect integrity and ethical conduct from their leaders. Trump's legal battles could overshadow his campaign, affecting his chances at the polls. Precedents and uncharted territory, right? A presidential candidate, all right, should not be able to campaign from prison after being found guilty of sedition. All right? However, guess what? This isn't what Donald Trump has currently been charged with, but it is posing itself to be a distraction. All right? If he would win the election, we would be in uncharted territory, ladies and gentlemen. And as you can see, this would be a major distraction for anybody in office. All right? So in conclusion, Donald Trump faces a critical choice, and I want you supporters to understand this. He really does need to prioritize clearing his name, or maybe purpose another presidential bid. Maybe he should run to be president later on, right after he gets all of this behind him. And I do believe that we as citizens must continue to demand accountability and transparency from folks like Donald J. Trump. So listen up, Donald Trump. I really do believe this. Only by addressing your legal challenges can you truly serve the American people, right? So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, you know what we got to do. Because his supporters won't do it, we will do it. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in giving Donald J. Trump our first honorable round of, you guessed it, boos and shame. All right? Because these indictments, these convictions, these are a distraction that we all know will not allow him to do his job successfully, right? So let's give him what he deserves. A round of boos and shame. There you go.
Silence. You MAGA demon.
All right, now let's get started with some of today's topics, and then you know what? We'll open up those boxes and get up out of here because, like I said, Zeus has a very busy day. All right? So we all saw Donald J. Trump revisit the crime scene of January 6th yesterday, the U.S. Capitol, and our good friend Adam Schiff had some choice words. All right? During a House Judiciary Committee convened by Chairman, or who I like to say, seditionist, treasonous traitor, Jim Jordan, to discuss the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's prosecution of former President Donald Trump, Representative Adam Schiff used his time to troll the Republican-dominated committee by reminding them that their putative leader is a convicted felon, all right? Granted his 5 minutes, the California Democrat began by saying this, ladies and gentlemen, and we just want to get this stuff on the record, all right? Because it's very important. For those of you who haven't been keeping up with what's happening in politics, it's very important. You hear these words, all right? And they ring like a bell if you ask me.
Hush money payment trial.
Here you go.
I want to begin by quoting the jury in the Manhattan hush money payment trial. Guilty. Guilty, 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 guilty,
Yeah.
guilty.
Any questions?
Guilty, 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 guilty.
Any questions?
Guilty, 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 guilty. This was what the jury pronounced unanimously on every count. My Republican colleagues don't really contest Donald Trump's guilt. This is the fascinating thing. Their argument is essentially he should never have been prosecuted. or they falsely claim it was a political prosecution, or they falsely claim it should have been a misdemeanor, not a felony. But they don't contest, not really, that Donald Trump was making hush money payments to a porn star to hide their affair from voters. What they're really saying is they're more than comfortable nominating and electing as the President of the United States someone making hush money payments to a porn star.
Wow.
The party formerly of the moral majority is now, I suppose, hoping to fashion some kind of immoral majority to reinstate Donald Trump as president.
Bingo. So, ladies and gentlemen, what Adam Schiff is saying is this. Isn't it so funny that the party that brands themselves as Christians, right, that they know the person that they're propping up, Donald J. Trump, is guilty 34 times. Did you hear him saying guilty the way that he said it? Guilty. So, you know this man is guilty. You know this man is not a Christian, MAGA, and yet you are willing to lie, cheat, and steal for Donald J. Trump just so that you can win in these elections. And guess what? It's a shame and it's disgusting, and I can't believe you are all still out there doing this as if we Americans can't see you for what you are. A bunch of liars and a bunch of hypocrites, right? So get this, ladies and gentlemen. Guess what we must do? Because these folks have no shame, we have to give it to them, all right? Join me in giving the Republicans in Congress who continue to excuse Donald Trump's criminality, who continue to excuse his evil and corrupt conduct, all right, and sweep it under the rug, all right, just so they can win, and they're desperate, right? Join me in giving them what they deserve. Another round of, you guessed it, booze and shame. It's easy.
Silence, you MAGA demon!
All right, look at that. We are cruising through these topics. All right, let's go, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Nancy Pelosi, she spots the GOP's tragedy over Donald Trump's, or we call him a thug, right? When she goes on to Lawrence O'Donnell's show yesterday, all right? And listen to what she says. This is some good stuff, and I got to get this out there, all right? Nancy Pelosi slammed Donald Trump and GOP lawmakers for trying to pull the wool over American eyes regarding January 6th attack after the former president's first visit to the Capitol. This is revisionist history. It's whitewashing. This is what she said to Lawrence O'Donnell yesterday, ladies and gentlemen. Listen up, because see, these are the golden nuggets that you want to hold on to before you go and cast your vote.
That I've been wondering about during the Trump years. Watching the collapse of the male ego in that institution where you started as a freshman member of the House, you were surrounded all day in a culture controlled by the male ego, these very powerful committee chairmen who, for ego reasons and other reasons, but definitely for ego reasons, would fight any slight incursion into their jurisdiction, or there was all sorts of jealousies involved that you know about, that I know about, in the House and the Senate, and we could see that male ego energy running wild around the place, most of the time in an unproductive, negative way that got in the way of progress. And so it has astonished me. That among, and I mean this as a male ego issue, that among Republican men in the Senate and in the House, male ego somehow disappeared. And I don't think social psychology has ever seen a phenomenon like this before in the history of the study of male ego.
Tell them, Lawrence.
Well, as I said, we don't agonize, we organize. I don't agonize over their mostly insecurities as you describe it. But understand this guy, as a former president, he is a master of projection.
Oh.
Everything he says about somebody else, whether it's a judge in the courtroom, a witness, a juror, a member of Congress, a woman, an opponent in an election, everything he says is a projection of his own shortcomings. Crooked this person, he's crooked. Lazy this person, he's lazy.
Bingo.
Name any subject that you can name. Wacky this person, he knows he's wacky, he knows he's an imposter. So if we're going to do psychoanalysis of him, I think we have to have him in person in front of some healthcare professionals. But I do wish there would be an intervention from his family, assuming they love him beyond the resources.
But they're not
assuming
going to.
that they love him, that they would intervene, that the Republican Party would have an intervention. They have become a cult to a thug. And that is really a tragedy for the grand old party and what they were. So I really then going into insecurities, really, the insecurities that I'm concerned about are some of the voters out there who fall for his line.
Bingo.
But I'm here tonight to say to you, on this day when he tried to return to the scene of the crime, he didn't dare come to the Capitol, as he didn't dare come to the Capitol on January 6th. But we cannot let this be whitewashed. This is a disservice to the vision of our founders for a democracy. The sacrifice of our men and women in uniform who have fought for our freedom that he wants to dismantle. And the aspirations of our children to live in this great country.
Bingo.
With respect for the institutions and concern about their future. He just doesn't care. Let's forget about him. Let's just talk about unifying the country. Putting forth what Joe Biden did with the Democrats in the Congress, House and Senate. We had the first bill that we had right away, the rescue package, shots in arms, money in pockets, people back to work, children safely in schools.
Tell them, Nancy.
A child tax credit taking half the children in poverty out of poverty. The bipartisan infrastructure bill. We had 13 Republicans, but that's bipartisan in the House, more in the Senate, I think. But the bipartisan bill, creating jobs, the IRA, saving the planet, lowering the cost of prescription.
Tell them, Nancy, all right? So, we're going to wrap this up by saying, listen, it's crystal clear, Nancy, that these folks that are worshiping Donald J. Trump are in a cult and they are worshiping a thug. At some point, you got to wake up and realize this isn't helpful for the folks here in the United States of America. Now, what Joe Biden is doing compared to what Donald Trump has done, ladies and gentlemen, the choice is crystal clear. All right. And so because of that, guess what we're going to do once again? Since Donald Trump has no shame, all right, because he's running a cult and he's a thug, let's give him what he deserves. You guessed it, another round of booze and shame.
Silence, you MAGA demon.
Another round of booze and shame. All right, you guessed it. All right, let's move it along. Okay, Trump does not like America and his voters want to burn things down. Let's go. Former Republican pollster Sarah Longwell offered a blunt assessment of Trump supporters' goals for trying to put him back into the White House in the 2024 presidential election. Appearing on CNN last week, she slammed Republican politicians for abasing themselves before former president on Tuesday, but then suggested that the ultimate blame for this rests upon the GOP primary electorate. Quote, "This is what Republican voters have chosen," she says. "I talk to Republican voters all the time in the focus groups, and there was and is and remains sort of a 30% group of people who want to move on from Donald Trump, but the other 60% are either hardcore Trumpers, like very fine with Donald Trump." Nonetheless, she could not help but heap scorn on GOP lawmakers who kissed up to Trump, even though many privately believe he is completely unfit to be the president. "Watching them all fall over him is embarrassing for them," she says. "I want the Republican Party to be relegated to a rump party because of sustained electoral defeats that is incentivized to reform itself. That is not this dangerous version of what we see today." However, Longwell said it was hard to imagine the GOP turning back to what it once was, given the demand for its voters. Quote, Donald Trump and this version of the Republican Party does not like America, she said. The old version of the Republican Party did not, or they did like America. They thought it was great. They wanted to help other places in the world become functional democracies like America was. But Donald Trump doesn't like America, and these voters want to burn things down, and Trump is their chaos agent to do it. You know, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we are at in terms of America. We have two different school of thoughts that I would actually say you run into, right? You get folks out here. I was in a live the other day, and they like to bash the United States of America, don't they? Don't they like to say things like, "Oh, America, the inflation." They like to cry about inflation. They like to cry about the eggs, right? They like to cry about everything under the sun, ladies and gentlemen, as if there is some other country on the face of this earth that they can go to and live the way that they want to live, all right? And you got to ask yourself, why did you all of a sudden start saying this kind of stuff, right? And so you drill down, and what it is a lot of these folks, they feel there's some resentment that they have, right? What do they resent? They resent things like Barack Obama, right? They resented his presidency. They resent things like progress being made in the black and brown communities. They resent progress being made in the LGBTQ plus community, right? And so they're at a point now where they go, you know what? If I'm not happy, no one can be happy, right? These are like some kids on the playground. If I can't win, then I'm taking the ball away and no one's going to play. This is what it is like right now in the Republican Party. And it's a disgusting thing that's going on, if you ask me. It really is. But you know what? The good thing is this. They're not the majority. They are the minority, right? So guess what we're going to do to these folks that don't like America? Those folks who don't like America and they continue to worship Donald J. Trump. You guessed it. Join me in giving them what they deserve. Another round of, you guessed it, booze and shame. Thank you. They are the minority, right, April? They know it.
Silence, you MAGA demon!
A lot of these people know that they are the minority, and they know that when it's all said and done, this will never go back to being a country that they imagined it to be when they're kids. I mean, it's like they're like, you ever seen that Peter Pan thing? They think they can go back in time and go back to Never Never Land. It doesn't work like that, MAGA, seriously. All right, now, oh my goodness, look at the time. All right, we're moving on. You guessed it, to January 6th. I know this is an abbreviated show. I am so sorry. All right, Jennifer, thank you so much for the subscription. All right. Listen, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So we have more J6 updates for those of you. Here we go. No more. Okay, let's go. What I like to do is I tend to go a little into detail, but in the interest of time, we're going to try to skip through this. All right. Just for the sake of having fun today. Is there anyone out there that still believes Donald Trump's claim that the 2020 election was rigged? Is there anyone out there that still believes that the 2020 election was rigged? I'm asking for a friend, all right? Anyone out there still believe the 2020 election was rigged? I see some no's. Hopefully we get all no's, all right? Because I don't want to have to go through this if I don't have to. But if there is someone out there that still believes the 2020 election was rigged, number one, I would like for you to at least come up here and explain to Zeus why you believe it was rigged. All right, look at this. This is progress, ladies and gentlemen. Normally, Trump does. I see that. Nathan's mom. Nope. All right, what do we got? A bunch of no's. All right, no. All right. I love it. Then it seems like we got a consensus in here that the 2020 election was not rigged. All right. And so what we'll do is I'll try to go through this. Heck no, I like that. I like that. All right, look at this, ladies and gentlemen. We got some real progress. Yeah, I really do like to take, normally I just go right into it, right? But what I've started to realize is the more that I venture out into, different spaces on social media, right? The more that I venture out, the more the Trump supporters they're starting to understand this is one lie that they will not be able to get away with. All right, because the facts are out there. Right, Linda, they attempted rigging it. Right, the facts are out there about the 2020 election. All right, and so when Donald Trump made this statement, right?
It's a rigged election. It's the only way we're going to lose.
Remember this statement, right? MAGA, there were a group of Trump supporters, I kid you not, that they really sat back and they believed Donald Trump when he said the 2020 election was rigged. All right? Never mind that during that election, we were in the thick of a pandemic, right? Never mind that. Never mind unemployment was shooting up through the roof, right? We all forgot that for some strange reason, right? All right. Yes, April, they are brainwashed. And so what I want to make sure we do is we make sure they understand that Donald Trump was behind the attack on the Capitol on January 6th, not Nancy Pelosi, not the FBI, not the Ghostbusters or anything like that. All right. Thank you, June, for sharing the live. All right. So let's move it along. All right. So you heard it.
It's a rigged election. It's the only way we're going to lose.
That's what Donald Trump said to all of his supporters going into the election. Well, we all know what happened election night, right? Did Donald Trump win? Did Donald Trump win on election night, ladies and gentlemen? Well, I can answer that question for you because I don't got much time, all right? The answer to the question is no, Donald Trump did not win. So what did Donald Trump do after he realized he didn't win? Well, he came out and he conceded to Joe Biden, right? He came out and he conceded to Joe Biden? Actually, no, he didn't.